Welcome back, everyone. We're about to take another deep dive today, and this time, it's all about emotions.
Emotions.
Yeah. But, not just your basic happy, sad, angry, We're talking about nuances. Yes. All those fascinating words that help us pinpoint those subtle shades of feeling that we all experience.
It's true. And honestly, having precise language for our emotions can be really powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
It helps us understand ourselves better and connect more deeply with other people.
It's like having this whole expanded vocabulary for what's going on inside.
Exactly. It's like having a more detailed map of the emotional landscape. You can navigate your inner world and your relationships.
Oh, I love that. A map.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So I've got to say, some of these words on this list, they're really intriguing. Like ecstatic. Okay, we all know what happiness feels like, but ecstatic, that just seems next level. Is there a psychology to that kind of intense joy?
Well, when you look at those peak experiences, those like ecstatic moments, they often have these common threads. Think about the idea of a flow state. When you're so absorbed in what you're doing, you lose track of time.
Oh, yeah.
Everything just clicks. It's effortless joy, or achieving a long-held goal, or even just witnessing something truly awe-inspiring.
So it's not just a fleeting feeling, it's tied to something deeper.
Right.
Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I'm kind of fascinated by the word melancholy. It's always had this really poetic, layered kind of feeling to me.
Melancholy is definitely more than just sadness, that's for sure. I think it's got this bittersweet quality to it.
Yeah.
Like a sense of longing or nostalgia for something you've lost. An old photograph, a familiar scent, even a song.
Oh, totally. Like you said, an old photo of your childhood home or a song from when you were young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Triggers those memories and emotions.
It's almost like melancholy has a beauty to it in a way, like a recognition that things change.
The things are impermanent.
Yeah. Speaking of complex emotions, I think disillusioned is a word that a lot of people can relate to these days. It's like that moment when the curtain gets pulled back and you see something you believed in maybe for a long time and it's not what you thought it was.
Disillusionment is tough. It can really shake your worldview. It happens when your beliefs clash with reality,
Yeah.
and you're forced to kind of confront that gap between your expectations and what's actually happening.
And it can be painful, but sometimes I guess it's necessary for growth, right?
Absolutely. It can be a catalyst for growth. You reevaluate your values, seek out new perspectives.
It's like a necessary part of maturing,
Becoming more discerning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so something I noticed looking at this list of words was how many of them seem to have these opposites, like take jubilant and disheartened. They both seem to be tied to how we deal with success and failure. You know what I mean?
If you think about it, they're both deeply connected to motivation and resilience.
Oh, interesting.
Because jubilant it's that pure, unrestrained joy of victory.
Oh, yeah.
They can really propel you forward. But disheartened reminds us that setbacks, they're just part of the journey.
So it's about how you handle those setbacks.
Exactly. How you process that disappointment that shapes your resilience.
It's like those two voices in your head, one cheering you on and the other one whispering doubts. Makes you wonder if some people are just wired to be more resilient, Which kind of leads me to another pair of opposites, confident and insecure. Those feel like two forces that we're all constantly battling with inside.
Confidence, I think, is that feeling of self-assurance.
Right.
That belief in your own abilities, allows you to take risks, pursue your goals. But insecurity, that's rooted in self-doubt, and it can really hold you back. And, it's amazing how both of those emotions can coexist within us.
Oh, for sure. Sometimes it's like they're duking it out,
It's constant internal battle.
Yeah, totally. It makes me think about that saying, fake it till you make it. Could pretending to be confident actually help you become more confident over time?
There's actually some research to suggest that could be true.
Really?
It's like by acting as if you're confident, you start to embody those qualities.
Okay, last word pairing I want to touch on in this segment. And this one really got me thinking. Exasperated and amused. Can you actually feel both of those at the same time? It seems almost paradoxical.
Sometimes the very thing that frustrates you can also be the source of amusement.
Right.
Like when you encounter a situation that's so absurd,
Oh, yeah.
it just becomes funny. It's about finding that little bit of humor in the midst of frustration.
Yeah.
A coping mechanism.
Totally. It's like that time I was trying to put together a bookshelf and I ended up putting the whole thing together upside down. Oh, it was ridiculous. I was so exasperated. But I mean, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Okay. Looking at this whole list now, are there any other patterns that you see, like groupings of words that jump out at you?
Oh, absolutely. For one, there's a whole cluster of words around anxiety. Apprehensive, anxious, overwhelmed. I'm curious, are those just different flavors of the same emotion, or are they distinct?
That's a great question. I mean, they all seem related, but there are definitely subtle differences.
Each word captures a slightly different nuance of that anxious feeling.
Okay.
Apprehensive is more like fear or worry about something specific.
Right.
Like a big presentation or an important deadline.
Makes sense.
While anxious is more generalized.
Yeah.
Just this persistent feeling of unease, and it can be hard to pinpoint.
Ah, yeah. And overwhelmed is that feeling of just being completely swamped.
Right. By demands or emotions or just too much going on.
So it's not just about saying I'm stressed, it's about really honing in on the specific flavor of stress that you're feeling, right?
Exactly. And I think that's incredibly valuable, especially when it comes to figuring out how to cope.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you can identify the specific nuance,
Yeah.
then you can choose coping mechanisms that are going to be more targeted and effective.
It's like learning to speak the language of your emotions fluently.
Precisely.
Oh,
And that fluency can really empower you.
totally. I'm also seeing a group of words that all have to do with positive social connections, like affectionate, sympathetic, grateful. Those just seem to be at the very heart of healthy relationships, don't they?
You can't have strong relationships without them.
Yeah.
Affectionate is that warm, tender feeling.
Yeah.
It's how you express care through your words and actions. Sympathetic is about really understanding what someone else is going through,
Right.
sharing in their feelings, offering support, and of course, grateful reminds us to appreciate those connections.
Yeah. It's funny how, seemingly simple words can actually capture such profound elements of human connection. Which kind of leads me to another cluster of words that describe more negative social experiences, like envious, resentful, bitter. Those have kind of a darker, more destructive energy to them, don't
They
they?
often stem from unmet needs or perceived injustices.
Yeah.
So envious is that feeling of discontent,
Mm-hmm.
when you long for something that someone else has.
Right.
And resentful takes it a step further. There's bitterness there.
Okay.
Indignation.
Yeah.
And bitter. Well, that's a deep-seated resentment, and that can really fester.
So it's not just about feeling a twinge of envy every now and then. It's about recognizing how these feelings, if they're not addressed, they can actually escalate
Absolutely.
and really damage our relationships.
It's about understanding the root of those emotions so you can deal with them in a healthy way.
Yeah. This is making me think about emotional intelligence. Is being aware of these nuances of emotion, is that part of what it means to be emotionally intelligent?
I think it's a key component because emotional intelligence involves not just knowing your own emotions, but also
Yeah.
understanding the emotions of other people,
Right.
managing your emotional responses.
It's like learning to read those subtle cues in ourselves and in others and being able to respond in ways that are authentic and compassionate.
Yes.
It's amazing to think about how powerful words can be when it comes to navigating those complexities of human emotion.
Words give us the power to name our feelings, to process them, to communicate them to other people.
Right.
The more nuanced our vocabulary is,
Yeah.
the more effectively we can do all of that.
This deep dive has already given me such a new perspective on emotions. I'm starting to see how understanding these subtle shades of feeling can really help me be more self-aware and build stronger relationships.
That's fantastic.
And we're just getting started. I can't wait to see what other emotional territories we explore as we make our way through this list.
Oh, there's so much more to uncover. We're going to dive deeper into the introspective emotions, the challenging ones, the ones that fill us with awe and wonder.
Oh, I love it. Okay, listeners, get ready. We're about to go even deeper into the fascinating world of human emotion.
As we go deeper into this lexicon of emotion, I'm drawn to a cluster of words that really evoke a sense of introspection, pensive, nostalgic, and yearning.
Oh, I love those words. Pensive, it always makes me think of someone gazing out a window, lost in thought.
Yeah.
It's just got this quiet, reflective quality to it.
It does. Pensive really suggests deep contemplation,
Yeah.
often with a hint of sadness or longing. It's like pondering life's mysteries or reflecting on the past.
Yeah. And nostalgic, as we talked about earlier, is that bittersweet longing for the past. It's amazing how a certain smell or a song or even just a place can just bring back a flood of memories and emotions,
It really is. It's like our senses are directly tied to our emotional memory.
Totally. And yearning. That deep desire for something that seems just out of reach. It could be for a person or a place or even just a feeling you want to recapture.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when someone's feeling all three of those at once? Pensive, nostalgic, and yearning. Are they just like having a really introspective day, or could it be a sign of something deeper, something else going on?
It could be that they're just in a contemplative mood,
Yeah.
but sometimes these emotions can also signal a period of transition
Okay.
or a time of change in someone's life. It prompts you to reflect on the past and maybe yearn for something different in the future.
This makes me think about the stages of grief.
Oh, interesting.
Could those feelings of nostalgia and yearning be part of that process of letting go and moving forward?
That's a really interesting connection.
Right.
Because grief isn't just about losing a person.
Right.
It can also be about losing a job or a relationship.
Even a sense of identity.
Exactly. And in that process of grieving, those feelings of nostalgia and yearning, it can be really powerful.
It seems like acknowledging those feelings rather than trying to push them away
Mm-hmm.
could actually be a really important part of healing and growth.
It's about letting yourself feel the full range of your emotions, even the uncomfortable ones,
Yeah. Okay, speaking of navigating challenges, there's another group of words on this list that really jumped out at me. Relieved, vindicated, and humbled. They seem to describe what happens after some pretty intense experiences.
They do. Relieve, that's like that exhale after holding your breath, when that worry is finally lifted.
Oh, yeah.
It's like realizing you didn't lose your passport.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Or a medical test comes back clear.
Oh, the relief. I can practically feel my shoulders relaxing just thinking about it. And vindicated. That one's got a real, like a potent feeling to it.
Vindicated is it's like the taste of justice,
Right.
It's being proven, right? Having the truth revealed. Like knowing your instincts were right all along, or your efforts finally paid off.
It's like when your hard work is finally recognized or your perspective is validated after being doubted or dismissed. It's a good feeling.
It is. And then there's humbled. That one often comes from experiences that kind of challenge your ego a bit.
Yeah.
Make you aware of something bigger than yourself.
Like realizing you were wrong about something and actually being open to changing your mind.
Yeah.
Or maybe witnessing someone else's incredible act of generosity or courage.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our own limitations and appreciating the good in others. It's humbling, for sure, and it can really shift your perspective.
What I find interesting is that all three of those words, relieved, vindicated, and humbled, they all kind of point to a sense of resolution, don't they?
That's a great observation. Relieved is like the resolution of anxiety.
Right.
Vindicated is the resolution of injustice. And humbled is the resolution of ego.
It's like finding peace after a storm, You come out on the other side and there's this new sense of clarity.
And perspective.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about a trio of words that can be really tough to deal with. Guilty, ashamed, and regretful. These are emotions that can really weigh us down.
They can. Guilty is that feeling of responsibility when you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
It's that voice in your head saying, you messed up.
Oh, do all been there.
We have, whether it's a small mistake or something bigger, it's that feeling of knowing you could have done better.
Mm-hmm. And ashamed feels even heavier, even more intense.
Yeah, ashamed is more like humiliation or embarrassment or even a sense of being unworthy.
It's like wanting to hide, to just disappear.
Yeah, like you want to escape judgment from yourself or from others.
And then there's regretful, that feeling of wishing you could just rewind, undo something you did or take back words you said. It's that longing for a do-over.
The what ifs and the if onlys.
Exactly. As painful as these emotions are, it seems like they're just part of being human, Is there a healthy way to process them, or are we just kind of stuck carrying them around forever?
Well, I think the first step is to just acknowledge those feelings.
Okay.
Without judging yourself. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes. We're all imperfect, It's part of the journey.
So it's not about pretending these feelings aren't there.
No.
It's about meeting them with self-compassion.
Exactly. And then you can start to understand what led you to make those choices in the first place. What were the circumstances? What were your motivations?
It's like being a detective of your own emotions.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the root cause of the guilt or the shame or the regret.
Exactly. And then, if possible, focus on making amends.
Okay.
Learning from those mistakes so you don't repeat them.
It's about taking those negative emotions and turning them into something positive,
Yeah. Turning them into opportunities for growth.
both for ourselves and in our relationships. You know, sometimes just talking to someone about these things can help,
It can.
like a trusted friend or a therapist. Just having that safe space to process these emotions.
A compassionate listener can make all the difference.
This conversation is reminding me that even the really difficult emotions can teach us something valuable.
They can, if we're willing to listen.
Yeah, if we're willing to be open and curious. Okay, so moving on, we've got another fascinating cluster of words on our list. Astonished, amazed, and bewildered. These seem to capture that sense of surprise and wonder that we can feel.
The unexpected, the extraordinary.
I love that feeling of awe,
Yeah.
like when you see a magic trick
Uh-huh.
or you experience something just breathtaking in nature. Astonished, it's like that gasp of surprise, the disbelief that something so incredible is real.
Right. And amazed is similar, but I think it also involves admiration.
Okay.
A sense of wonder, that feeling of being captivated by something.
Yeah, it's like that childlike sense of wonder and delight. And bewildered, isn't that just like when you're confused?
It's more than just confused. It's like you're disoriented, like you can't fully wrap your head around what's happening.
Yeah, okay.
Imagine stepping off a spinning carnival ride. Your senses are all jumbled.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to regain your balance. That's bewilderment.
But even in that disorientation, there's this element of excitement, right? Like being jolted out of your normal routine.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the world is full of surprises.
Yeah.
And even confusion can lead to growth.
This makes me think about the role of surprise in learning.
Oh, interesting.
Don't we tend to learn best when our assumptions are challenged? When we encounter something that makes us question what we thought we knew?
Absolutely. Surprise can really shake things up. It can disrupt those old thought patterns
Yeah.
and open us up to new possibilities.
It sparks curiosity.
Yes.
It makes us want to explore new ideas. So it's not just about feeling surprised, it's about what we do with that feeling, right?
It's how we integrate that experience into our understanding of the world.
This deep dive is really highlighting for me just how complex and interconnected all of our emotions really are.
It's an intricate web.
It is. So where does our emotional exploration go from here? What's next?
Well, let's turn our attention to a group of words that are all about hope, optimism, and resilience. Hopeful, optimistic, and inspired.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Let's shift gears a little bit and look at a cluster of words that I think many of us are pretty familiar with these days. Frustrated, impatient, and exasperated. They seem to be the hallmarks of modern life, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with demands and deadlines and delays. It's no wonder we find ourselves like tapping our feet impatiently or just feeling that surge of frustration when things don't go exactly as planned.
It's true. Frustrated is that feeling we get when our efforts are blocked, when we encounter those obstacles on the road to reaching our goals.
Yeah.
You know, like being stuck in traffic or dealing with a computer glitch or just endless bureaucracy.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
It's like you're stuck, you want to move forward, but you can't. And then impatient, that's that restless energy that kicks in when you have to wait. Whether it's for a delayed flight or a website that's taking forever to load or even just someone to finish their sentence.
Right, it's that I want it now feeling, that sense of urgency.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got exasperated, which just takes it to a whole other level.
Exasperated is like frustration and annoyance all rolled into one with maybe a dash of disbelief thrown in for good measure.
It's like when you've explained something multiple times and the other person still just doesn't get it.
Right. It's like, are we even speaking the same language here?
So is there any way to escape this cycle? This frustration, impatience, exasperation cycle? It seems like these emotions are so deeply ingrained in our fast-paced, tech-driven world.
I think the first step is is awareness.
Hmm.
Just noticing those feelings when they come up,
Okay.
creating space for a more mindful response.
So instead of just immediately reacting to that frustration,
Right.
you take a step back, you observe it.
Exactly. You pause.
Yeah.
And that pause gives you the power to choose a more constructive way to respond. We can also try to cultivate more patience and acceptance, realizing that we can't control everything.
That reminds me of the serenity prayer.
Oh, yes.
You know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
That's a perfect example.
And sometimes just even just naming those feelings, calling them out,
Mm-hmm.
can help to kind of lessen their grip on us a little bit.
I think so. It's like you're acknowledging them, but you're not letting them take over.
Yeah. It's like, okay, frustration, I see you, you're here, but I'm not going to let you run the show. So as we've made our way through this list, I've noticed a pattern. It seems like we keep swinging back and forth between those emotions that are like really challenging and then those that feel more uplifting.
It does, doesn't it?
It's like a reflection of the ups and downs of life itself.
I think you're right. Our emotional lives are complex. They're a mix of light and shadow, joy and sorrow,
Yeah.
peaceful moments and times of turmoil. And I think all of those emotions, when we really acknowledge them and try to understand them, they all contribute to the richness of what it means to be human.
It's like all those different colors in a painting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, each one plays a role in creating this beautiful, complete work of art. So where do we go from here? What other emotional territory are we going to explore?
Let's turn our attention now to some words that are all about hope and optimism and resilience. Hopeful, optimistic, and inspired. Those are the emotions that fuel our dreams and help us to face life's challenges with a sense of purpose.
Oh, I love that. It's like a burst of sunshine breaking through the clouds. Hopeful. That's that feeling that things will get better even when things are really rough.
Right.
It's that little glimmer of light that keeps us going.
It's that spark of possibility, that belief that a brighter future is out there, even if we can't see it just yet.
And optimistic is that underlying belief that things will work out, that good will ultimately prevail, you know?
Optimism is so powerful.
It is.
It allows you to see challenges as opportunities,
Right.
to believe in your ability to overcome obstacles, to approach life with a sense of positive expectation.
And then you have inspired, that feeling of being energized, like you want to create something to make a difference, to really go after your passions.
Inspired is like being lit up by something bigger than yourself, something that gives you a sense of purpose.
This trio of words, hopeful, optimistic, inspired, they're essential. They're like the essential ingredients for resilience and growth.
They are. Hopeful keeps us going when times are tough. Optimistic helps us to maintain that positive outlook. And inspired motivates us to take action and create positive change.
It's such an important reminder, especially when we're going through periods of uncertainty or feeling overwhelmed by challenges. It's so easy to get bogged down in negativity, but these words remind us that there's always a reason to hope, to be optimistic, to find inspiration.
And it's important to remember that we can cultivate these emotions.
Oh, absolutely.
We can practice gratitude. We can seek out experiences that inspire us.
Yeah.
Surround ourselves with positive people. Focus on our strengths.
So even when we're feeling down, we can actively choose to shift our perspective and tap into that energy of hope and optimism and inspiration.
It's a choice we can make every single day.
This is so empowering. It's like we're not just victims of our emotions, we can actually shape them.
Exactly. And the more aware we become of all the nuances of our emotional experience, the better we understand ourselves and others. That leads to richer relationships, a greater sense of purpose.
This deep dive has been an amazing journey. I feel like I have a whole new vocabulary for understanding and expressing my emotions.
It's wonderful to hear.
And as we wrap up here, I want to just encourage our listeners to continue exploring this incredible world of human emotion. To remember that each feeling, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, fleeting or long-lasting, it all has something to teach us.
It does. It's all part of what makes us human.
Well said. So until next time, keep exploring, keep feeling, and keep those dictionaries handy.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.